Okay. Now offsetting. Offsetting is basically netting. Okay. The word offsetting means netting. So in your financial statements, some items can be netted. Okay. So for example, we have an example here. If you are disposing of a asset, non-current asset, if you are disposing of a non-current asset, so the gain or loss arising out of that on disposal of a non-current asset, like a plant or machinery, or maybe a motor car. So any gain or loss arising from disposal of the non-current asset will be shown as the sale price minus the carrying value of the asset. The consideration you have received minus the carrying value. So that will understand, and minus any selling expenses also, if you have incurred any brokerage or all. So the consideration you received minus the amount of carrying value, that is the WDV of the asset in your books, minus any selling price, minus any selling expense. Basically consideration minus the carrying amount minus the selling expense. So that is how you recognize the gain or loss on disposal of any non-current asset. That is called offsetting. Okay. So you basically netted that and disclose the amount. Apart from that, there is something called as you have created a provision for any expense. For example, a car manufacturer has created a provision. There might be some defects in the cars he has manufactured regarding some components. So he has created a provision during the year. Maybe he has created a provision of something like 5 lakhs. And he also expects that if he actually pays that much amount, his supplier, the supplier of components, will be reimbursing around 80% of that. Will be reimbursing 80%. So there are some supplier warranty contracts where the supplier agrees to reimburse for any faulty components. So the car manufacturer will recognize a provision of 5 lakhs. Plus he expects 4 lakhs reimbursement. So when he records in the profit and loss account, he can offset that. So he can show only a expense of 1 lakh. That is 5 lakhs was the provision minus the reimbursement. So he will be recording an expense on provision of only 1 lakh. That is called offsetting, because he has created a provision of 5 lakhs, but he will be receiving 4 lakhs from the supplier. Or it can be a insurer also, any insurance company that has agreed to reimburse. So that is offsetting. So basically you are recording the items net or adjusting items and showing it as a net amount. So an entity shall not offset assets or liabilities or incomes and expenses unless required or permitted by an Ind AS. They are saying that entity shall not be offsetting. Offset is basically kind of netting assets and liabilities. So assets against the liabilities, incomes against the expenses, unless required by the Ind AS and permitted by the Ind AS. So unless required and permitted by the Ind AS, don't do it. So you cannot just net anything. Okay. So there is one example also we'll be studying, which is not allowed to be offsetted. So for example, we'll be studying one illustration after this, that you receive, you can say, commission. You are an agent, you are into agency business. You receive commission of suppose like 10 lakhs. Plus you have sub agents under you. You have to pay them like 3 lakhs out of it, or maybe 5 lakhs out of it. So you are an agent, you hire sub agents below you. So you receive a commission of 10 lakhs, and you have to pay your agents, that is your sub agents, 5 lakhs. So you cannot offset that. So you cannot record income of 5 lakhs directly. 10 lakhs minus 5 lakhs. You have to show income of 10 lakhs and show expense alag se f 5 lakhs. That cannot be netted. Okay. Even if you think that yes, actually हाथ में तो 5 लाख ही आया, but that cannot be offsetted because these are two separate transactions. So your income from agency business has to be shown separately, plus whatever your expenses are that you are paying to your sub agents has to be shown separately. That cannot be offsetted. So some items are allowed, some items are not allowed as per the Ind AS. An entity reports both assets and liabilities and incomes and expenses. Measuring assets net of valuation allowances. For example, obsolescence allowances on inventories. So when we write down inventories, our doubtful debts on receivable is not offsetting. So they are saying writing of inventories or writing of doubtful debt is not offsetting. That doesn't come in offsetting. That is basically you are creating a provision kind of, or writing down the inventory value. Offsetting is where basically you are netting any income against the expense, or you are offsetting any asset against the liability. So just like I told you ki the liability was a provision made by the car manufacturer. Asset was the claim receivable from his supplier that you can net. Similarly, the sale consideration on the sale of non-current asset was a, you can say, income, and whatever cost you incurred on sale of that asset, you adjusted against it, plus you adjusted the WDV of the asset in your books against it. So from that you understood what is the gain or loss you made on that sale. So Ind AS 115, revenue from contracts with customers, requires an entity to measure revenue from contracts with customers at the amount of consideration to which the entity expects to be entitled in exchange for transferring the promised goods or services. So there is a standard called Ind AS 115, revenue from contracts with customers. So there also they have given how the revenue should be measured. So they are saying revenue should be measured net of any discounts or rebates. Trade discount, volume rebate. Volume is basically the amount of order based on that discount is given. So it should be recorded net of all this. Okay. For example, the amount of revenue recognized reflects any trade discounts and volume rebates the entity allows. Then an entity undertakes in the course of its ordinary activities other transactions that do not generate revenue but are incidental to the main revenue generating activities. An entity presents the results of such transactions when this presentation reflects the substance of the transaction or other event by netting any income with related expenses arising on the same transaction. So basically, you are basically presenting transactions to reflect the substance. He basically, the car manufacturer created a provision of 5 lakhs, but he is going to get reimbursed na 4 lakhs. So the investors or the users of statement should know his actual expense is only 1 lakh. That is why you have to offset. Similarly, when you are selling the asset, you cannot say ki, for example, you sold the asset for like 10 lakhs. And in your books, the WDV of the asset was only 8 lakhs. Plus you incurred selling expenses of maybe 50,000. So what is the gain from that sale? The user should understand. So 10 lakhs minus 8 lakhs minus 50,000. So you made a gain of around 1 lakh 50. So that the user should understand. Similarly, when you're recognizing any contract revenue from the customers, you have to show the amount net of any trade discount or rebate. So here are a few examples. But again, it doesn't include basic bad debt provision or basic inventory write down. That is not included in this. Example, an entity presents gains and losses on disposal of non-current assets, which are not current, including investments and operating assets, by deducting from the amount of consideration, that is the amount received on disposal, the carrying amount of the asset, the WDV of the asset in your books, and related selling expenses. So gains or losses are recognized, sale consideration minus the carrying amount minus sale expenses, if any. Similarly, an entity may net expenditure related to a provision that is recognized in accordance with Ind AS 37, provisions, contingent liabilities and contingent assets. This is a provision like our AS 29. Ind AS 37, provisions, contingent assets, contingent liabilities, and reimbursed under a contractual arrangement with a third party. So a lot of times the seller can enter into a contractual agreement with a third party, that the seller will say that if I incur any liability or any expense, the third party will reimburse. It can be an insurance company also, it can be a supplier also, or it can be any other person who will be reimbursing. So basically that will reduce your expense, that will reduce your liability. So that you have to show as the effect has to be shown in the books. An entity may net expenditure related to provision that is recognized in accordance with Ind AS 37, provisions, contingent liabilities, contingent assets, and reimbursed under a contractual arrangement with a third party. For example, a supplier's warranty agreement against the related reimbursement. Plus, they are saying in addition, an entity presents on a net basis any gains or losses arising from a group of similar transactions. So basically, if your company is dealing in foreign transactions, maybe a group of transactions they did, buying, selling, so they can show the foreign exchange gain or loss arising from those transactions by offsetting any gains and losses. So basically they did, so suppose 3 transactions, so they can show the total gain or loss arising from these transactions. So it might happen that on 2 transactions they incurred gain, in one they incurred a loss, so the net amount will come in the income statement. So for example, foreign exchange gains and losses or gains and losses arising on financial instruments held for trading. However, if they are material, then they can be shown separately. Otherwise, similar transactions, 2-3 transactions I have undertaken, which in that I have incurred foreign exchange transactions, 2-3 transactions. So I can just net the amount of total gain or loss I made on these transactions. So maybe I did 3 transactions. Out of that, in 2 transactions I did gain, 1 transaction I lost. Or it can be any financial instruments also. Can be forward contracts entered with my bank. So only the net amount of gain or loss will come out. If the transactions are material, I will have to disclose separately. That is, if the transactions involve a huge amount, I'll have to show separately. Is offsetting of revenue against expenses permissible in case of company acting as an agent and having sub-agents, where commission is paid to sub-agents from the commission received as an agent. So here the company is an agent. They hire sub-agents through which they get business. Now the company receives commission as an agent, and out of that they pay commission to their sub-agents. Should they offset? So here they say ki you cannot offset. You have to recognize the revenue, the income separately, the expense separately. So there was a guidance given under this standard that on the basis of guidance regarding offsetting, net presentation in given case would not be appropriate, as it would not reflect the substance. So the users won't understand what the transaction was. So they should understand ki how much revenue you earned as a company, and from that your main expense is the expense to the sub agents. So the user should know that. So that is why you cannot just offset anything. So you have to think from the user's point of view, how they will understand the transaction. So on the basis of guidance regarding offsetting, net presentation in the given case would not be appropriate, as it would not reflect the substance of the transaction and would detract from the ability of users to understand the transaction. So they will think that the company is only receiving the income of 5 lakhs. For example, if they show ki our total income from commission is 10 lakhs and we are paying 5 lakh agency commission to our sub agents. So if they offset and directly show 5 lakhs, the users will think that they are earning only 5 lakhs, which is true in some case, but it is true because in net income is 5 lakhs only. But the user should understand that their actual income is 10 lakhs. Out of that, they are paying. So the revenue is 10 lakhs and expense are 5 lakhs. So that user should understand. Accordingly, the commission received by the company as an agent is the gross revenue of the company, because the company is into agency business. So that's the gross revenue. It should be shown separately. The amount of commission paid by it to the sub agent should be considered as an expense and should not be offset against the commission earned by it. So they should not be offset. There are various items which cannot be offset. There are some items which can be offset. Amongst them are the allowed ones are foreign exchange transactions, maybe forward contracts you have entered to secure a position as an importer or exporter. On that, you made gains or losses. So you can club the transactions and show the actual gain or loss on all the transactions. If they are material, show separately. Similarly, if you have created a provision and you are getting reimbursement from a third party, show the offsetting there. Plus, if you have sold a non-current asset, do offsetting of the selling expenses and the WDV or the carrying amount of the asset. If you have entered into contract with customers, you can offset or show the amount net of trade discount and rebate, if any. Writing down the inventory or bad debt provision is not offsetting. Okay. So in this offsetting, first line, second line, up to allows, and then the examples, including the forex transactions, and this illustration you'll have to write. Okay. So as of now, what you need to write is offsetting and up to this point, services. So up to entity allows. Up to entity allows. Okay, and then I'll make you write the example. Illustration you can write later. Okay, write this offsetting. Then frequency of reporting. An entity shall present a complete set of financial statements, including the comparative information, at least annually, once every year. So we saw the complete set of financial statements, balance sheet, P&L, statement of changes in equity, cash flow, notes, at least annually, you have to submit. You have to make basically. When an entity changes the end of its reporting period and presents the financial statements for a period longer or shorter than 1 year, sometimes it might happen that you might present your reporting period longer than 12 months or shorter than 12 months. An entity shall disclose, in addition to the period covered by the financial statements, the reason for using the shorter or longer period, and the fact that the statements are not entirely comparable with the previous year figures. Now, when such a thing happens, let's see. Here is an example. In 2008, an entity Superb was acquired by entity Happy Go Lucky. So Happy Go Lucky acquired Superb. Now, to align its reporting date, that is Superb, to align its reporting date, that is Superb's reporting date, with that of its parent, that is Happy Go Lucky, Superb changed the end of its annual reporting period from 31st Jan to 31st March. Normally, their reporting period ended on 31st Jan. But now, to follow the holding company's pattern of closing the books on 31st March, they also extended their year by 2 more months. Consequently, entity Superb's reporting period for the year ended 31st March 2008, so in 2008 they are saying, is 18 months. Sorry, is 14 months. Earlier, 12 months used to finish at 31st Jan, plus 2 months up to 31st March they extended. So now the year is of 14 months. So longer than the normal reporting period. On the basis of these facts, the following disclosure would be appropriate. So they will have to disclose in the notes of Superb that this is the extract from the notes to entity Superb's 31st March 2008 financial statements. They will have to make a note, note 1, basis of preparation and accounting policies. About reporting period, they will have to explain that to align the entity's reporting period with that of its parent, Happy Go Lucky, the entity changed the end of its reporting period from 31st Jan to 31st March. The amounts presented for the period ended 31st March are for 14 months. So whatever amounts obviously we are presenting are for 14 months. And the comparatives, that is a column of last year, is for 12 months period. That is last year's comparatives for Superb. So obviously they cannot be compared in the same sense. So we have to add a statement. Consequently, the comparative amounts for the statement of comprehensive income is basically the P&L account, statement of changes in equity, statement of cash flows, and notes are not entirely comparable because this period is of 14 months, last period was of 12 months. So you cannot entirely say that they are comparable. So they are not explaining the trend. As I told you yesterday, that you can check the revenue like that. But earlier period was of 12 months, this period is of 14 months. So you have to make a statement also that please don't compare them in the actual sense. So if you want, you can restate that to 12 months and then compare. So whatever figures are coming for 14 months into 12 upon 14 karke, then you can compare if you want. Okay. So this is the sentence that they were saying, that when an entity changes the end of its reporting period, like Superb did, from 31st Jan to 31st March, to align its statements with the statements of its holding company, the parent, and presents the statements for a period longer or shorter. Sometimes it can be shorter also than 1 year. An entity shall disclose, in addition to period covered by the financial statements, the reason for using the longer or shorter period, and the fact that amounts presented in the statements are not entirely comparable, that we saw in the note. So 2 points are there. First of all, every entity needs to present set of financial statements annually. That whole set has to be presented annually. Secondly, if there are any changes in the reporting period, more than or less than a year, give a note explaining the reason for that and the fact that the comparatives are not exactly comparable. Please write this. Frequency of reporting along with the example. Okay. Next is comparative information. We have already seen the actual comparative statements. We saw the full set of financial statements plus the comparative information. So here they have given how much comparative information has to be shown. Minimum comparative information. An entity should present comparative information in respect of the preceding period. We saw the column. In respect of the preceding period for all the amounts reported in the current period's financial statements, except when Ind AS permits or requires otherwise. Except when Ind AS says otherwise. Otherwise, for each item presented in the current year, you have to show the previous year's figure. Comparative information for narrative and descriptive information should be included if it is relevant to understand the current period's financial statements. Even notes can be again explained for the previous year if they are continuing to be relevant in the current year. So a note that was relevant in the previous year as in the comparative statement, if it is still relevant in the current year, disclose that. They have given an example that in the current period, an entity discloses details of a legal dispute. Outcome was uncertain at the end of the immediately preceding reporting period and that is yet to be resolved. So at the end of the comparative statement, there was a legal dispute pending, and still at the end of the current period also it is still unresolved. So in the notes they can explain the legal dispute that was pending at the end of the previous period is still pending as on current date. So in the notes also they might add information about the previous period which is still relevant in today's period. Now an entity shall present as a minimum. We saw the balance sheet, the profit and loss, cash flow, changes in equity, all had two columns, current year column and previous year column. So that means they should present as a minimum two balance sheet. Minimum is two balance sheet. You can present 3, 4 also. So minimum two balance sheets. So two columns will come, current and previous. Two statements of P&L, two statements of cash flow, two statements of changes in equity and related notes. Here again. Two statement as in two columns. So you don't have to make the whole balance sheet again. Okay, just add a column. Balance sheet, current, previous. Current year here is 1890, previous is 1780. Okay. Similarly, two profit and loss accounts, two columns that is. Two changes in equity, also cash flow. Understood? So minimum two and related notes. Now they are saying that if the entity wants, they can give additional also. Third column also they can add. So they can give two previous years data. For example, in this case, 1819 is the current year. So 1718 is already given for as a comparative. Also, you can give 1617 if you want. So an entity may present comparative information in addition to the minimum. So minimum is given. So you can present additional if you want. An entity may present comparative info in addition to the minimum comparative financial statements required by Ind AS, as long as that information is prepared in accordance with the Ind AS. So as long as you have prepared the earlier information as per Ind AS, it's fine. The comparative info may consist of one or more statements referred to in the complete set of financial statements, but need not comprise a complete set of financial statements. When this is the case, the entity shall present related note information for those additional statements. Now what they are saying, let's see the example. An entity may present a third statement. So they are saying two तो minimum है. Okay, two तर minimum करायचंच आहे. थर्ड त्याने प्रॉफिट अँड लॉस अटॅच केलं. मग त्याने म्हटलं थर्ड तुम्ही जर प्रॉफिट अँड लॉस अटॅच केलं तर मग कॅश फ्लो, बॅलन्स शीट आणि स्टेटमेंट ऑफ चेंजेस पाहिजेच असं नाही. तुम्ही प्रॉफिट अँड लॉस पाहिजे थर्ड दाखवा. मिनिमम टू आहेत. ओके, सो थर्ड तुम्ही प्रॉफिट अँड लॉस पण बनवा, अजून एक कॉलम ऍड करा. पण म्हणजे थर्ड कॉलम तिकडे ऍड केली म्हणून काय तुम्हाला बॅलन्स शीटची पण थर्ड कॉलम ऍड केलीच पाहिजे, कॅश फ्लो केलीच पाहिजे असं काय नाही. ओके. An entity may present a third statement of profit and loss, thereby presenting the current period, the preceding period, and one additional comparative period. बरोबर. थर्ड स्टेटमेंट म्हणजे काय की करंट पिरियड 1819, आपण आता बघितलं करंट पिरियड 1819, त्याच्या आधीचा पिरियड 1718, त्याच्या आधीचा अजून एक पिरियड त्याने प्रेझेंट केला प्रॉफिट अँड लॉस मध्ये 1617. However, entity is not required to present a third balance sheet, a third statement of cash flow, a third statement of changes in equity. That is an additional financial statement comparative. The entity is required to present in the notes to the financial statements the comparative information related to that additional statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income. So any note which is relevant regarding that additional statement of P&L, you have to state. But if you just make a third P&L, it is not required. It is not compulsory to just add balance sheet also. You can have 3 years profit and loss and 2 years balance sheet, 2 years cash flow, 2 years statement of changes in equity. That is sufficient. If you want to show the P&L for 3 years, you can show that. If sometimes they want to show the trend for the last 3 years of the profit. A retail chain acquired a competitor in March 2001. A retail chain acquired a competitor in March 2001 and accounted for the business combination. Business combination is merger acquisition under or amalgamation under Ind AS 103 on a provisional basis in its 31st March 2001 annual financial statements. So on 2000 March, in March 2001, they entered into a transaction to acquire its competitor, who is also a retailer. So as of now, the deal is not complete, but they have accounted it on a provisional basis, taking estimated figures. They have recorded it in the books of 31st March 2001, its annual statement, to show the substance over form. And the agreement, the business combination, the amalgamation, was finally finalized in 2001, that is the next year. And the fair values, the provisional values which were taken earlier in estimated values, were now updated. As a result, the 2000-2001, that is the year in which they have made the provisional figures, comparatives, were adjusted in 2001 to annual financial statements. Now, what is happening? There are 2 years in question here, 2000-2001. 2000-2001 is the year in which the acquisition happened. But the deal is not finalized. Acquisition happened, but the exact details are not there. So the company, the acquirer, has made adjustments in its books as per Ind AS 103 on provisional basis. Provisional is taking estimated figures. See, these are the assumed figures. The final figures will come when the deal is finalized in the next year, 1-2. So finally, they finalize the deal in 1-2 and they have the exact figures. Now, while preparing the statements of 1-2, they have to present comparatives of 01, 2000 and 2001. So while presenting the statement of 1-2, they will readjust the comparatives also. They will adjust the comparatives as per the actual figures. Because earlier they had closed the books using the estimated figure. Now the question is, does the restatement, now they have done the restatement and all. So in the year 1-2, so we are in the year 1-2. So they have presented 1-2 and 2000-2001 figures. And 2000-2001 figures they have readjusted. Now the question is, does the restatement require an opening statement of financial position, that is an additional statement of financial position as on 1st April 2000? So the question is, should they present the opening statement as well? The question comes from this point actually. There's a small point here. Now, 2001, 2002 we are anyways showing. 2000, 2001 also we are showing. Now, are we required to also attach the opening position of that year? They are asking. Yeah, this is the point. They are saying change in accounting policy, retrospective restatement, or reclassification. So actually, they should have given the question later. When an entity applies an accounting policy retrospectively or makes a retrospective restatement of items in its financial statements or reclassifies items in its financial statements, it shall present as a minimum 3 balance sheets, 2 of each of other statements and related notes. The entity presents balance sheets as at end of the current period, end of the preceding period, and beginning of the preceding period. So from this, they are asking the question. So what the provision is, if you are restating the financial statements retrospectively, like that is happening in the above case, then you have to present current period balance sheet, last year's balance sheet, both ending on the reporting dates, and balance sheet at the beginning of the preceding period. So for example, in this case, we have already presented a balance sheet for 31st March 2002, also 31st March 2001, and also on 1st April 2000 we have to present. That is preceding year च्या first day. म्हणून हा प्रश्न असा आलाय की does the restatement require an opening statement of financial position? Now logically yes, in this point they have said ki you have to present, but you have to see ki 1st April 2000 ला was there any impact of this adjustment? Are you retrospectively adjusting that also? 1st April 2000 चे figures are you adjusting? 31st March 2000 चे figures are you adjusting? In this case, no. Because adjustment, whatever you're doing is for 31st March 2001. That is for the year ended 31st March 2001. At the start of the year, there is no impact because that time there was no acquisition only. So you don't have to show. But if the retrospective amendment is also affecting the position at the start of the year, then you have to show. So an additional statement of financial position is not required because the acquisition has no impact on the entity's financial position as at 31st March 2000. So if the adjustment has an impact on this also, then you have to show this is also adjusted. But otherwise, there is no need. So here in this case, balances as on 31st March 2000 or on 1st April 2000 are not getting affected. Whatever is changing is on 31st March 2001. That is changing. If it was changing, then you would have presented. Otherwise, there is no reason. Even if here they have said that when an entity applies an accounting policy retrospectively or makes a retrospective restatement of items in its financial statements or reclassifies items in its statements, it shall present as a minimum 3 balance sheets. 3 balance sheets will be at the end of the current period, at the end of the preceding period, and at the beginning of the preceding period. Okay, but if it is not, the beginning of the preceding period is not getting adjusted, then there is no need to present. That is the logic. Understood? Consistency of presentation. So normally the presentation has to be consistent. So जसं तुम्ही प्रेझेंट केलंय आता, जसं आपण प्रेझेंट केलंय बॅलन्स शीट पीएनएल, तसंच प्रेझेंटेशन कंटिन्यू. जसं तुम्ही हेड्स दाखवलेत, एक्सपेन्सेस, इन्कम्स आणि वेरियस हेड्स इन द बॅलन्स शीट वगैरे, तेच कंटिन्यू झाले पाहिजे. दॅट सेम क्लासिफिकेशन, सेम presentation has to continue unless you need to change the accounting policy or you want to give a detailed information about some item or the Ind AS requires you to change the presentation, then you will have to change. Option nahi. So if it is for the betterment of the presentation, if it is the AS that says yes, then you will. जसं आपलं ह्याच्यात होतं अकाउंटिंग स्टँडर्ड्स मध्ये पण असं होतं की चेंज इन अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी ओनली इफ it leads to betterment of the presentation and if it the standard says so, then you have to. नाही तर नाही, उगाच चेंज करायचं म्हणून चेंज करायची गरज नाही. So an entity shall retain the presentation and classification of items in the financial statements from one period to the next unless, so retain same presentation ठेवा, unless it is apparent following a significant change in nature of entity's operations or a review of its financial statements that another presentation or classification would be more appropriate having regard to the criteria for selection and application of accounting policies in Ind AS 8. Ind AS 8 talks about change in accounting policy. So if you want to change the accounting policy to give a better picture, so you think that this is the right policy for you, or a new accounting standards this was applicable. So नवीन accounting standard applicable झालेला आहे तुम्हाला, or the standard says that a new standard comes and you need to change your presentation, then you have to go with that, or you are changing the accounting policy for the better presentation. Only then. A significant acquisition or disposal or a review of the presentation of financial statements might suggest that financial statements need to be presented differently. There is a acquisition, merger acquisition happening, or you disposed of considerable amount of assets, or there is a demerger happening or something like that, or on review of the statements, if the management thinks that we need to present the statements differently, we need to change the accounting policy, or give a more detailed information about what we have done. The entity changes the presentation of its statements only if the changed presentation provides information that is reliable and more relevant to the users of financial statements. So you have to think from the user's point of view, whether it will be more relevant to them, whether it will be more useful to them. And the revised structure is likely to continue so that comparability is not impaired. And once you change, you continue that. Again, in the next year, don't change. Okay. So whatever changes you are going to do in the accounting policy or application of new Ind AS, you will have to continue that. Then you cannot change, and then again in next year you come back to the original classification. No. When making such changes in presentation, entity reclassifies its comparative information. Also, you have to reclassify your comparative information to make it comparable. So retrospectively, you have to just the previous point that if there is a retrospective change in accounting policy, you have to present the balance sheet at the start of the previous year also. So that is the continuation of this point. So in your book, you have to write the whole thing up to this point. Okay, you can do it later. So this part we have finished. So you can just copy this later, and all the illustrations that we have left. So I hope you have understood everything today.